Recently, I've come across a psychological horror game that really grabbed me and immersed me into the game through its amazing use of sound and atmosphere. There are a lot of psychological horror games out there to experience, some bad and some good. And since there are dozens upon dozens to choose from, it becomes extremely hard to find a fledged-out horror game that really gets my skin crawling. Luckily, I found a hidden gem called Summer 58, developed by Amiga Games. I feel this game deserves more recognition for the number of things it does right, compared to a lot of other psychological horror games. I'll first talk about and explain the story of Summer 58, then pick apart why I think this game does so many things right, and what could be improved upon. Before I get started, if you're interested in playing the game at all, I'll leave a link to the Steam website. I highly advise if you plan on playing it to pause this video because I'll be going over many spoilers. And with that said, let's get right into it. The game starts you out playing as Alex Morton, who has been going to houses with rumors of paranormal activity to prove that the heinous crimes that people committed are their own fault and not from some paranormal entity. Alex's next destination to try and document paranormal activity picked by his subscribers was a pioneer camp located in Russia. When he finally makes it to the pioneer camp, you'll come across multiple old newspapers and old notes scattered around the building that describe the events that took place there. You end up finding out that in 1958, towards the end of the summer, parents called the camp to check on their kids, but no one answered. It turns out, when the parents arrived there was no one to be seen, only things abandoned scattered throughout the building, making a mess of the camp. This caused an investigation into the disappearance of children and employees of UNOST Pioneer Camp that opened in 1955. Maria Anatolievna, the director of the Pioneer Camp, also disappeared along with other workers. She was known for taking care of children from her days working at an orphanage from 1944 to 1950. The only person investigators thought could be tied to the disappearance was a child named Yakov living in the camp, but his whereabouts were unknown. Now, coming back to Alex, he spends the first night looking through each room and documenting paranormal activity. Towards the end of the first night, you get knocked out by an entity and wake up in one of the different rooms. Alex then makes his way to the classroom and finds to be what looks like a mangled deer that had been left on the floor. He then finds a box with a fuse and a couple of light bulbs. He puts the fuse in the fuse box and keeps the light bulbs for the next night. During the second night, he experiences more paranormal activity, with entities being more aggressive. You end up finding a key to a box in the classroom, and when you open it, you find Maria's diary, and this brings you to a flashback of Maria's memory in the summer of 1958. In this flashback, you're in a classroom at night. You go towards her desk and find a picture of her and her kid, which you find out is her son Ivan. You also find out through documents in the safe under the desk that her son has been misdiagnosed and that her son needs a heart transplant. During this flashback, you also come across a note in one of the desks, and it turns out to be a note from Yakov to a kid named Anna, telling her about how they need to run because the director talked about doing something bad. Maria goes out looking for the key and ends up finding it in one of the kids' lockers inside a music box. Once you get the key, you go to the safe and then open it to find a gas canister with sleeping gas. Maria plans to use it to make it easier to transfer the children to the hospital for surgery and return them back. Maria also explains how there is one canister missing and that her gas mask was broken, blaming it on Yakov. In the safe, there was also Maria's diary talking a little about who Yakov is. You find out Yakov came to camp without parents because he had no parents or relatives. He was a good kid and would do everything Maria asked. Yakov is also unable to speak, but can understand everything people say. In the story, she also talks about how she needs to speak with Alexei Sergeyevich at a shelter where they used to work. Alexei ordered Maria to fulfill their agreement tonight. Maria also plans to use Yakov to help her with this plan. The last thing in the safe was a document with Maria talking more about Alexei Sergeyevich. You find out they used to work together at an orphanage, and explains how she acted carelessly and received a complaint, which caused the director to close the shelter. This ended up causing her to be suspended from medical work. She goes on to explain how she won't make the same mistake because Alexei knows of their agreement. This agreement entails Maria giving Alexei constant flow of kidneys, and in return, since Alexei is a doctor, he'll help with Ivan, Maria's son's heart transplant. Maria also plans to use Yakov as a donor because based on his medical records, he's an ideal donor and she'll set up his death as an accident. After going through the safe, you put the gas in the room where all the kids and counselors are sleeping and head back to the classroom. When you walk in, you see another gas canister leaking out sleeping gas. Turning around, you'll see a person blocking the only exit with a mask and a suit on, making this mysterious person unable to succumb to the gas. The flashback then ends with Maria fainting and Alex waking up in the classroom in the middle of the day. You also find that the mangled deer is gone. When stepping out of the classroom, there's a note near the door that leads to the room where all the kids would sleep. The note read, "You were told to get out of here. Leave this place alone." Alex decides to use the paper from Maria's diary to respond to the notes, which you later find out are being written by Yakov by slipping notes under the door. Their conversation goes like this. Alex first writes, "I know what happened here. Let me help you. Tell me, who are you?" Yakov doesn't respond. Alex writes again saying, "I read that people were killed here. Did you do that? Tell me, and then I can help." Yakov says, "I was accused, but I didn't do it. Get out of here." Alex responds with, "Is your name Yakov? Have you been living here alone for years?" Yakov agrees, saying, "Yes. Here I can communicate with my friends. We guard this place because it is our home. A lot of people came here just to break our things. My friends help me to drive away strangers. I'm afraid that someone will see me and tell someone that I live here, and those people will come for me." Alex responds with, "Who are your friends, and why are they here too?" Yakov says, "The spirits of this place. Those who were tortured here, they remain locked up. That day, in the evening, after lights out, someone came. Probably it was the person whom the director spoke. He didn't find me. I think because of this, he poisoned all the residents and the director." Alex responds with, "All this was planned by the director of the camp? What are you talking about? What kind of person was she talking to?" Yakov responds with, "It's all her. I saw our director talking to someone in an old hospital near the camp. They agreed that they would do their work at night. Then I realized that it was connected with us, but I couldn't warn everyone. I didn't see who else was there because I was scared and hid. In the morning, I went to the building and found no one here. Her safe was also not there. I thought that the man and his assistants had taken everyone away and hidden the bodies in the building. I had to stay here and live in the ventilation, only sometimes go to the rooms." Alex responds with, "That building, abandoned? Can I get there?" After this, Yakov doesn't reply anymore. This left Alex deciding to head to the abandoned hospital to find out more about what happened at the pioneer camp, and finds a note by Maria. It talks about how she has no choice but to do this to save her son, and must not let Alexei down. Alex also finds an employee's note in the hospital. It talks about how they're hearing voices, seeing shadow-like figure resembling a woman going into the closet, and that there is a bad odor coming from it. Alex goes behind the closet to see a small room with toilets and skeletons laid on the floor, along with what looked like to be Maria's safe. In the middle of the room, Maria hung herself. You look into Maria's safe and find a death certificate. You find out Ivan died in the fall of 1950, and this caused Maria to go crazy and lose touch with reality. Another document found in the safe from 1958, Alexei replied to Maria that he would no longer participate in this and refused to work with her. When done reading the documents, he noticed Maria's body isn't there anymore. Alex finds a knife next to where Maria's body was and decides to take it along with him. You then leave the hospital and go back to the pioneer camp to leave a note for Yakov, telling him he doesn't need to be worried about being accused and that Alex wouldn't tell anyone that Yakov lives with his friends. Alex leaves, going on to the next place where witches used to live. This leaves the game off to be continued with Alex stuck in this new place and him questioning if the spirit Maria is attached to him or not. So now that we have gone through the whole story, I'll go over some of the plots to explain what I think is going on. Maria, the director of the camp, made an agreement with the doctor, Alexei. She would bring him constant flow of kidneys, most likely for Alexei to sell and make money. In return, Alexei would perform a heart transplant on Maria's son to save him. In the middle of this, Yakov becomes Maria's favorite, not only because he obeys her, but because Yakov is a perfect donor for her son. After some time, Yakov caught Maria talking to the doctor about their plans for that night, based on Maria's diary and a note Yakov sent to Anna. Yakov decides to hide the key to the safe and writes a letter to Anna telling her to warn everyone and to help him. I think Yakov and Anna might have been good friends, or there was an opening for Yakov to give the letter to Anna. It also makes sense because Yakov can't talk, so it'd be better to have someone else that could talk to tell everyone what's going on without wasting too much time. On the night planned, Maria gasses the employees and the children. After Maria sets up the gas canister, she heads back to the classroom. This is when someone puts Maria to sleep with sleeping gas. This is where it gets kind of up to opinion on who might have gassed Maria. I believe it was the doctor because he finds out that her kid passed away already in 1950. In the document, it also says that she couldn't stand the pain and went crazy losing touch with reality. Also, when Alex writes to Yakov, he says, "I thought the man and his assistants had taken everyone away and hidden the bodies in the building." This means it could be the doctor or one of his assistants. It's possible that Maria couldn't face the horrible truth and still believe she could save her son. I think when the doctor found out how delusional Maria is, he couldn't trust her to not tell anyone of his illegal activities. So it's possible the doctor might have been the one that took the second gas canister and broke the mask, not Yakov. When you talk to Yakov through the notes, he explains how he was scared and hid till morning. So I don't feel it was possible that Yakov was the perpetrator. The doctor probably transferred everyone to the abandoned hospital and took out their organs and hid the dead bodies in the room behind the closet. One thing I can put together is why the doctor would let Maria live, because in the room you find that she hung herself and left a note that's in her handwriting. This is the only part that breaks my theory a little bit. It's also possible that it could be someone we haven't met. The document from 1958 in the room with Maria, it makes Alex question who Maria was talking to when Yakov saw her. In the document, it also mentions that Alexei would no longer participate in their agreement and refuse to work with her. Another interesting fact is if you look closely at the person that gassed Maria, on the shoulders of the suit, it says CA, which is an abbreviation for Soviet Army. What we do know is that Maria got gassed along with the children and employees, and that Maria ended up hanging herself because she couldn't save her son. It's also safe to say that Maria attached herself to Alex at the end because in her note, she says, "Let the one who find me feel the pain of a mother who lost her child, and I'll be back," at the end of the whole note. I think the main reason Maria attached to Alex is because he picked up the knife, and generally when it comes to paranormal activity, if you take someone's possession with you, the entity can attach to you. Now that I've talked about the story and explained some of it, let's talk about the gameplay. The best aspect of this game is the sound design. It's amazing how many sounds they put into this game, and it really helps to build that suspense and tension in the player. It greatly impacts the whole atmosphere of the game. The creaking of the rotting wood, the noises outside, there are just so many sounds and it makes this game feel alive. It gets even better when you start experiencing paranormal activity. You'll experience random whispers, movements of objects from afar, objects crashing down. You'll even experience sounds of footsteps running closer to you and then stopping, which brings a lot of uneasiness and it makes you feel uncomfortable throughout the game. It gives you a weird feeling. The best way to describe it is like someone is too close to you, but nothing is actually there. Sometimes you'll even hear the sounds of someone breathing, and you can detect where it's coming from thanks to this game's amazing use of directional audio. This really amplifies that feeling of intrusion of your personal space that I haven't really experienced in many games. There are also ventilation noises throughout the game, and if you pay close attention, you'll realize there are ventilations in every room. Yakov is the one that uses the vents based on what he tells you. I had to stay here and live in the ventilation, only sometimes go to the rooms. It's also why you see blood trails leading to the vents. This is why I think this game does such a good job with the atmosphere. The use of story building through the environment and the sound is really well done, and it makes it all the scarier when you finally understand why something is the way it is. To really help you understand what I'm talking about, here are some of the sounds that I've experienced during my playthrough. So when it comes to the game loop, it isn't too crazy. It's nothing I haven't seen before. You walk around on a small building with some minor objectives. When you walk around, there are triggers for sounds and jump scares like most horror games you'll find out there, which isn't a bad thing. I think Amiga Games did an overall good job of this. When you walk around the game, you'll find that the designs of the environment are really well done, and again, feel lived in. Old toys are laid around, bunk beds are a mess with some tipped over, broken sinks, water leaks, and furniture scattered around. There's so many little details in the environment that tell a story. Both the hospital and the camp feel old and messy, which is what I think this game was going for. And of course, this horror game wouldn't be a horror game without jump scares. And I can confidently say that this game has a good handful of them that got my heart pumping. The jump scare that got me the most was a grudge-like figure on the bathroom ceiling. The way it was set up really caught me off guard and petrified me. To know what I'm talking about, here's what it looked like. Overall, the jump scares were really well done and ranged from loud noises to ghost appearances, which includes seeing the ghost of children, counselors, Maria, and a moving stuffed bunny. All of them are spread out enough to build that suspense up again and catch you off guard. I also really enjoyed the use of the night vision camera, and it reminded me of Outlast, another game I really enjoyed. I don't know what it is, but the night vision effect really helps to bring up that scare factor. I feel it could be that it enhances the fear of the dark unknown because you as the player can turn night vision off and on, showing you that it is pitch black, and the only thing between you and the darkness is the use of your night vision camera. With that said, as much as this game does right, it isn't perfect, and one of those things is sometimes there's just too much going on at once. There are times when there are too many sounds going off, and it deflates the tension of the atmosphere and can even ruin jump scares sometimes. I think the game would benefit from having a little bit more silence during some parts of the game, or having fewer sounds going off at once so the player has time to think to themselves of what's going to happen next, enhancing the fear of the unknown. I also think the game could have used more silent jump scares. For example, during the flashback of Maria, there's one part when you look back at the door entrance and you see human-like creatures staring back at you. It was very unsettling and it got a good scare for me because it was unexpected. Personally, one of the best ways to jump scare a player is the use of silent jump scares, because it does more than just a regular loud jump scare. Silent jump scares leave you with a bad feeling in your stomach with uneasiness. It's the feeling you get when you sense a presence watching you, and I think that is far more impactful than a quick jump scare that scares you for a split second. For example, Amiga Games could have added a dark figure standing outside the window of the camp. After a while, the player would realize that the figure disappeared. This would leave the player feeling unsure if they were in danger or not. And that's what's so powerful about silent jump scares. That feeling lingers with you of uneasiness, and it doesn't go away until you know for sure if it was dangerous or not. Other than that, this game does a really good job at scaring the player and keeping the tension and atmosphere throughout. The story is engaging and enough to get you thinking and makes you interested in finding out what this whole story is behind Summer 58. If you're ever interested in developing a horror game, it would be a good idea to learn from this game's use of sound design because it takes a step up from other games I've played. It goes to show how impactful sound design is when it comes to horror, or any game for that matter. It immerses you and makes the game feel alive. With that being said, if you enjoyed my analysis and explanation of why Summer 58 is such a good horror game, subscribe for more upcoming videos like this one. and maybe give this video a like. Also, if you have anything to add that I've missed, or about a theory, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear other people's theories and what you like and didn't like about the game. And again, thanks again for watching. See you next time.